So I was told by my app this morning that it is Teachers' Day. So two of my greatest teachers I'm going to bring into the room today. And the first one I'm going to show you on video, if we could go with that. And the second one I can only describe to you, and that is an African nanny, an African grandmother with you on her back as a little girl. And in the Zulu culture and in many cultures around the world, our nannies and our grandmothers actually wrapped you around, and the safety and care that you felt on their back. The two things that gave me safety and have always given me safety in my life has been the natural world and the love of the Zulu woman, particularly grandmothers. So I'm going to take you on a journey, and I'm going to tell a story of who I am, where I come from, and why the Wonderbag has become my biggest teacher. So I grew up in apartheid South Africa, and I grew up in a sexist, patriarchal home. And as a result, that meant that when I was born, I was taken away from my mother, who didn't see me until I was 6 months old, and I became daddy's little girl. And I grew up in a world where women didn't count, and where the very people, the nannies that nurtured me and held me safe, didn't count either. And it was against that backdrop that I had to find a way into the world. And I wished that I could go and live in the bush and never be seen again. So at the age of 18, I realized that if my father was to die, I would have to commit suicide. I had become his wife, his emotional go-to, the provider of our home, the matriarch, the mother to my siblings, and our mother had left when we were little. And I had not had a childhood. And I suddenly realized that this man, the only person I'd ever loved with my heart, if he died, I would have to die too. I also knew that I had to find a way to change the status of the woman of Africa. And I did not want to continue in a world or bring the next generation into a world of the world that I was born into. And so I left South Africa and I went to England, and I became a member of the ANC. I became what I call a freedom fighter, but we decided, Ola and I, that it's not a freedom fighter, it's actually a conscious peace initiator. But I've been a poverty activist and a freedom fighter all my life. And so I've looked for ways in every way to find how to change the lives of the grandmothers of Africa. Because I knew that if I could change the lives of the women of Africa who stand proud and glorious and who are entrepreneurs but are blocked by being chained to fires, they cook for 8 hours a day. If I could find ways to empower those women, not only in their own communities, but also to prevent the massive urbanization that is happening across the majority world, and particularly protect communities and create economic sustainabilities and stop people cutting down our precious resources around the wild areas of the world. If I could just do that, I would have left the world a different place. So I spent the better part of the next however many years starting a horseback safari business with a friend in the Okavango Delta. I went into business with 20,000 community members. We opened 3 pristine lodges. I was the first person who took on community-based tourism in the true sense of the word. I was 29. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, but I just did it. And at 32, when I sold those businesses, I realized I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything about my internal world. I had this massive exterior world that everybody saw. I was the champion, and this woman who'd taken on the safari industry, taken on Conservation International, challenged aid, said aid is keeping people in poverty. We've got to look at things a different way. We've got to look at how we can change the status quo of capitalism and how, yeah. So at 32, I came to that realization, but I didn't know what color I liked. I was a raging alcoholic. I rocked the world externally, but I was dying inside. I got sober in 2005. I became a mother to my brother's children in 2008 because his wife left when they were babies, and the Wonderbag was born. And I took my first Wonderbag. Now the Wonderbag, I have to quickly just tell you, and I know I have short time and I speak slowly, is that it's, what you saw was, this is a small one. It's a bigger bag. You bring your food to the boil, you put the pot, once it's boiling, inside the bag, and it continues to cook for 8 to 12 hours. Every bag saves 1.5 trees per year. We measure the life of a Wonderbag by 10 years because those are the projects. That's how long a Wonderbag lasts, because that's how we know. I've been in business 11 years. So you do the maths. It saves women 5 hours a day. We have 20,000 Wonder Women that are entrepreneurs today because they are no longer over fires. I took this bizarre bag. My brother was so excited he could finally admit me to a lunatic asylum because he couldn't understand how this was going to change the world. And I went to Gogo Tuli, who lived with 9 grandchildren. Her children had died. AIDS was rampant. And we lost a whole generation of people in Africa. So they were being brought up by their grandmothers, and grandmothers are, because so many people have to work away in cities. So I went to Gogo Tuli and I said, I have these bags and they cook. She went, how am I? And I said, Ngisolala Latin. So I spoke Zulu. I only learned to speak English when I was 7 because my parents really were more interested in other things than speaking to us. And so she was cooking goat's head. All 9 of her children were not in school. She used to boil goat's heads on big fires and sell them. It's a delicacy at the taxi ranks. They lived in a shack. And the children used to go and scrounge around for firewood all day. And I took her these 2 bags and I said, let's do this together. 3 months later, all 9 children were in school. She had 2 more people helping her. And she had erected another shack next to her where her kids could do homework. That was success to me. And that moment, I knew that I had something that could change the course of the way that we cook around the world. But I had a huge challenge, is how do you scale and bring a business like that to people who can't afford the bag? So there began my process into conscious capitalism. I was not going to go the aid route. Aid keeps people in poverty. It is a pat on the head. You not good enough for anything else. Here, try this and chuck it at them. Women want choice. It is a human right to cook. It's a human right to have time with your family. And it's a human right to have access to energy. So I then started to look at ways that we could subsidize this bag so people could abide at the price they could afford wherever they are in the world. So I started my journey with corporates. And I phoned Paul Pullman from Unilever and couldn't understand why he didn't want to see me or take my call. I phoned many CEOs and the secretary said, sorry, we don't know who you are. And I didn't understand why they wouldn't just see me. Anyway, I didn't understand the corporate world. I didn't understand what ROIs were. I just knew that impact was important. And this is what we should be talking about. I then also looked at carbon and looked at how we could subsidize bags. So I have been through all these different business models. I have worked tirelessly for 11 years to get this business and this brand to where it is today, which is bankrupt. And it's tough. It is fucking tough being an entrepreneur. And you know, everybody tells the glamorous sides of this business or of this, and everybody sees Musk, whatever his name is, SpaceX, and Mark Zuckerberg, and Sarah Collins. I just had my first front cover of Forbes last month. And I was recognized as Forbes Africa, just so that we're not mistaken, that I was recognized as one of the new top wealth creators in Africa because I take women of 20 US cents a day to $2. Do the maths. You do that to 100 million women in Africa. It is big business, okay? How do we not understand this? And Valerie spoke about preaching to the converted. I ain't preaching to the converted. There is no way. You have to speak to the heart and the soul and to the corporate culture. And you've got to find the people who are prepared to get into the arena and fail with you. And to see that it's not just about money. I actually do change the bottom line of businesses, but as I evolve and as I scale, I get in and out of money. I've self-funded all along. I come from an extremely wealthy family, so nobody understands why. Oh, my bell's gone. Okay, quickly. I come from an extremely wealthy family, so nobody understands why they don't give me money. I'm a woman. The money goes down the male side of our family. So the love of my life has cancer, my father, and I was told in January that I was never allowed to see him again because my stepmother is totally threatened by me. So my world has fallen apart, but the one thing that I know, without one shadow of a doubt, that I'm going to get this bag into every home and every refugee camp. The Red Cross are backing me. They are saying, we will take you there. I have a book coming out. I will make it, and I will get the CEOs, if they are part and want to be part and parcel of the future of our world, they have to be touched by the soul. They have to know that things have to be done differently. And our corporate culture needs to be a global culture, or their corporate. We need to actually touch and speak to the hearts of people. We need to bring humanity back. Why do people love the Wonderbag? It's because we're going back to old-fashioned ways of doing things. It's not, solutions don't all come out of Silicon Valley. You know, they don't come. I don't wear, I've got a smart dress today because now somebody's taken pity on me and started dressing me. But normally you will see me in the same clothes in a refugee camp as when I'm sitting in front of Jeff Bezos at Amazon. I don't care. I just want to tell what it is, you know? And I've got nothing to lose. And you know what? At the end of the day, I know that this is probably the toughest part of my journey now. And I know without a shadow of a doubt that coming to this summit has been a turning point for me. And my last thing I want to say is there are many people here who have spoken to me and said, we'd love to integrate you into our, not me. I mean, you can use me as a disaster of life, trying to fumble through the growth to get to the other side. But my bag belongs in every one of your places of the world. And I want to be there. And I will come and activate it and talk to your people, show them how to cook. And I'm committed to that. I've got a year now where I need to move my bag forward in different ways. And my book comes out next March, and then I'm going to be on the road with the book. So let's do it. And you host me, and I'll cook. And that's how it works. And
I hire you.
thank you.